Hey there, funnel builders. Mike Killen here from sellyourservice.co.uk, and today I want to talk to you about the real reason why customer marketing funnel projects fail. So what if we were able to tell if a marketing funnel project just was going to fail? We either couldn't save it, we couldn't get the results that the customer expected or the customer wants. Even more important than that, than your ability to kind of foresee into the future, what if we had the ability to ask the customer the right questions so they would tell you if a marketing funnel project would fail? Often what we find is that many customer projects don't quite go the way that they're expecting, and typically this is because the situation that the business is already in. Really interestingly, what a lot of marketing funnel builders don't realize is that some customer projects you just can't save. There's absolutely nothing you can do about them, and their business just isn't in the status to be able to generate the revenue returns that they're expecting. A lot of customers, in fact, think that you can save their business even if they themselves aren't willing to work on it that much. I think there's a bit of a misconception that all customers are going to want to work hard on their business. And often what we find is that as marketing funnel builders, they come to us and say, hey, I really want to build this website or sales funnel or marketing funnel process, or I want to generate some more revenue or generate some more sales. And after asking these questions, which I'll share with you, which are very simple, you'll find that some projects you can't do anything with. And if you can't do anything with them, their expectations are not going to be met and they're going to be unhappy with you. And it's a bit of a lose-lose situation. And frankly, there was never any chance of you winning the battle anyway. These are often customers who will insist that you charge a really low price as well. They'll say, hey, well, we've only got $1,000 or $5,000. And I'm like, I can't do anything with that. And then when you look into their numbers a little bit, after the funnel has launched, you realize there was nothing you could have done about this. What we have found that is when we launch a customer funnel and it doesn't generate the traffic they're expecting, doesn't generate the returns they're expecting, doesn't generate the interest or the revenue or the number of customers, when we dig a little deeper, we realize that there's nothing we could have done about it. So I want to share with you the questions that you can ask a customer that completely prevent that from happening. They're very simple. You might be asking these already, but here's why these are so important. First of all, they're going to help you identify whether a project is worth working on and whether it will ever generate revenue. It'll also help you understand the customer's current situation and how far that you're able to take with them. A little while back, I think it might have been the last video, we talked about customers who might want to run a marathon, but they have never run before, or customers who want to run a marathon who have run a marathon before. And it's obviously a lot easier to work with someone who's worked with it before, and they'll actually expect greater results more realistically, and chances are they've got a better budget than someone who's never done it before. So these questions you need to ask your customer before the funnel project starts. We typically call these questions, where are they now? So where are they currently within their business? We know where they want to go. We know that they want to, generate $100,000 or $1 million per year. We know that they want 1,000 more customers per year. They want loads more traffic. They want 10,000 views a month. They want 10,000 people on their email subscriber list. We know that that's where they are. We know that their problem, the roadblock that they're facing, is they don't have a sales funnel in place. Their website's not very good. They're not doing a lot of content marketing. And a lot of funnel builders will kind of jump into that and go, cool, let's get started. And they'll start from the wrong end anyway, but also they never investigate where the customer is. So during the consultation or the discovery process, or kind of, maybe during the qualification stage as well, when you're doing this for free, after you've spoken to the customer, ask them these questions about where they are now. And it's really simple. It's split into traffic, leads, and revenue, or customers. Okay, so traffic, leads, and revenue. Now, typically, all of our funnel projects should be starting at the customer stage. We should want to start with the customer and the revenue stage, the profit stage, because that's the bit that's going to generate the most return the fastest, rather than focusing on the traffic. So that's where we'll focus. So one of the first questions you need to answer is, one, how many current customers do you have, and how many current sales are you making? It's really important that we understand how much of their product have they currently sold. And this will instantly tell you straight away whether a customer is worth working with. People who come to you and they say, oh, we've never sold this product before, we're completely going to market. Unless you are a launch specialist and you specialize in launching new products to market, you need to avoid those. We do work on launch products partly because we build the product with the customer and they approach us and say, hey, I really want to build this new course product, or I really want to build this new book or webinar series or whatever it is, we'll actually help build the product with them, but also the investment's pretty hefty. We typically look at around $100,000 just to help build the launch product and help build the product with them. We don't actually even input into the product. That's just to consult them and coach them through that process and help them with a product overview. So that's one of the first questions. If a customer comes to you and says, well, we've never sold this before, we don't have any current customers or current sales, how are they going to pay you? What are they going to be expecting to pay you with? And that usually is an indication of their budget as well. There's also something called transaction density. So transaction density is built up of 3 core components of receiving and making sales. Number one, how many sales or how often does one customer buy? How often does one customer buy? For example, architects have got a very low transaction density because one customer doesn't really buy that often from one architect. It's not a repeat business. It's not a repeat like consumption-based business. Whereas things like razor blades, course materials, coaching, there's quite often people need to buy that quite a lot. So the first question you want to ask, second or third question you want to ask is how often is one customer buying? The next question is how much do they buy? So do they buy a little amount? Are they buying one product $1,000 once a year, or are they buying 10 $100 products a year? That's again really indicative of the amount of consumption and the amount of time someone is buying. If it turns out that they have a low frequency of buying and they actually don't buy that much, again, that gives you an indication that it's going to be hard for you to continue generating revenue, but maybe they already have made sales in spite of themselves and you can begin to increase that. And finally, how many customers are buying every single day? It might be that one particular business only works with one customer a year and they only make one sale a year, but it happens to be a $250,000 project or something, as opposed to 250 $1,000 sales every single year. And so what's that? One every 3 days or something like that. So those are the 3 core components of transaction density. How much does one customer buy? How often does one customer buy? And how many customers are buying every single day? And those 3 things there, that transaction density, will give you an idea of just how healthy their business is. So that's revenue. Really important to ask that. It's critical that you ask that straight away and as early as possible, because it will give you an indication of how far along the business is in terms of growth and what you can add. It's much easier for a marketing funnel to add $50,000 to a business that's already generating $100,000 than it is to go from 0 to $50,000. Okay, you've already got some momentum that you can use. Next up, we have our leads. So leads we would call like subscribers, inquiries. On one side, you might have your CRM system kind of set up, whereby or the customer might have their CRM system set up, so they've got all their leads and inquiries neatly saved in a database somewhere with all the contact details, every transaction they've ever had, all the details of like where they're going on the website, how often they buy. And on the other side, it might just be your email list, like how often are people subscribing to an email list, how often are people opting in. This is a really important thing as well, because new leads and inquiries are the lifeblood of a business. They have to understand that process of, you can't just create customers from thin air. It's also much easier to launch a product to people who have got 1,000 or 10,000 people on their email list already. That's one of the qualifiers that we have when launching a product, is we have to have a current email list or database. We can't just launch a new product to people who haven't got a list, because it's going to take us 6 months to a year to build that list in the first place, then launch a product out. Something else that you want to understand is, what is their current conversion rate of leads to sales? Like how many leads do they have at the moment? Let's say they have 100 leads or 100 people in their email list. How many of them become customers through that process? So what's the conversion rate there? And then ask, how many new leads are they getting a day? How many new subscribers are they getting every day or every week or every month? What does that list growth look like? So how many leads do they have now? What's the size of their list or their email list? How many are they growing every single day? And how many of those leads convert into customers? Really important to understand that, because it shows you that there is some kind of process behind their growth. And again, it's easier to double the size of a list that already exists rather than starting from scratch. What's really interesting as well is ask them what's their current lead follow-up process. How do they make those conversions from lead into sale? And if they don't really know, it might be that it's just kind of fluke and that people subscribe to their email list and they maybe send a few newsletters out and then they buy a product. Like, they don't really know, so they don't have a sales process there. That usually is a fantastic indicator that you can add some massive value there just by automating that lead follow-up process. Finally, we're looking at traffic, which is often the one that people want to start with, but I think it's one of the least important questions, because if a customer is making sales every single day or every single week, but their traffic levels are quite low, I know I can work on their traffic levels rather than work on their sales and conversion levels to make that increase. If someone is generating a lot of traffic but no sales, I obviously have to flip that model and start working on the sales. So I can add to the top of the funnel if people are already making sales. So first of all, you want to know how much traffic they're getting, how many visitors are they getting per week, how many of them are new and how many of them are returning. Again, that'll give you a pretty good indication of how often people are buying. If people are buying every single week or every single month, then you would expect to see more returning visitors. And again, you don't have to get too deep into the reporting, into the analytics. You just want to have an understanding of how many people they are visiting a month. And then from that, you can get an understanding of, okay, well, of those visitors, how many of them are converting into leads or inquiries or email subscribers? You want to understand that conversion rate, because it might be they have a really good sales conversion rate because they have a really good lead follow-up process, but they've got a really lousy traffic to lead conversion rate. Maybe their contact form doesn't work, maybe their opt-in forms aren't working, maybe they don't have any opt-in forms at all. So understanding like how many of those leads are, how much of that traffic is converting into leads is really important. You also want to look at sources. So the source of the traffic, does the majority of their traffic come from Google organic? Have they got a paid Facebook traffic campaign going out already? Understanding where the majority, and again, I typically only try to look for the majority. I don't want to see every single traffic source. I just want to kind of look at the top two. We typically use the 80-20 rule, where we know that 80% of our traffic is going to come from 20% of our sources. There's usually only one or two traffic sources that generate some serious referrals. It's usually organic Facebook and usually direct referrals, but I want to understand, is there another way for me to start adding traffic and start increasing revenue? So just to kind of wrap this up as well, is the last final piece is on landing pages. I want to find out where traffic is landing. Really vital to know, is there one particular blog post they've got or a particular landing page? Are they all going to the home page, which is not great, to be honest? I want to understand the landing pages that people are going on. So in terms of traffic, where are the main sources? How many people are they getting? How many are new and how many returning? And where are they landing? That's going to give me a really good indication. If I know that the majority of the traffic is landing on one blog post, then that's the blog post that I'm going to want to work on optimizing first to increase from visitors to leads or visitors to subscribers. And I also want to understand their current subscriber rate, because if it's quite high already, maybe there's nothing I need to work on too much. I just need to work on their lead follow-up process. Thanks very much, guys, for following me along there on that video on how to basically understand the reason why most funnel projects fail and how to get a customer to tell you if they're going to fail. Depending on those answers, it's obviously going to be much easier for you to work out whether a customer is going to have a successful project or an unsuccessful project based on the situation that they're at already. In the meantime, speak to you later. I am Mike from SaleYourService.co.uk. Keep building those funnels.